Hello there, my name is Kate White and welcome to this webinar, Craft Smart Emails, 7 proven steps to get your emails opened, read and responded to. And in a moment, I'm going to share my screen with you. I have some handy slides to share with you, giving you lots of examples, a handy mnemonic so that you can remember these 7 proven steps. But I just wanted to say welcome to you. This webinar is coming to you live from my home office with a different background than I actually am sitting in. And I have created 3 webinars as part of a working from home power pack. One about showing up and maximizing impact in virtual meetings. Another about how to time box and get structure in your day that gives you more freedom, if you will. And this webinar on crafting smart emails. So I hope these help you. I hope they support you at this time. And I promise you everything I'm sharing with you is tested and proven with my clients. And I will tell you a little bit about that in a minute. So I'm going to go over and share my screen with you, which I do feel a little bit like I'm landing the space shuttle here, but I know you will bear with me. So I should now have my slides on the screen and also me. So let me just adjust this slightly. So I will come over to you again at another point, of course, and I'm just going to make my screen into a slideshow. So I decided to host this solo and single-handed, as you will, rather than having an assistant, because at the moment everyone is so stretched. My assistant has young kiddies at home, and so here I am hosting this for you now. So 7 proven steps to get your emails opened, read and responded to. And the question you may ask yourself, and I certainly would ask it myself, is why is this so important and why now? Well, it's kind of obvious, of course, but whilst we're having lots of back and forth Zoom meetings and lots of Skypes and Teams and all of these kind of virtual meetings and obviously telephone conference calls, email is still absolutely crucial to convey ideas, to ask for information, and to follow up and to put things in writing. Let's be honest, a paper trail is still as important as it always has been. So the point of today's webinar is to give you some really useful tips straight out of the gate that are going to help you understand why sometimes people respond quickly to you and other times why you can sit there drumming your fingers waiting for a response. Now, straight out of the gate, when I first started working with a client who was struggling to get her team to sort of rally around her, and I was brought in, she was fairly senior in a big health care organization. And I was brought in to support her developing a management style that was both honoring herself, her feminine, but also at the same time getting more response and getting things done when she was struggling. And she sent me an email that she said, would you have a look at this? This is the sort of thing I want to send to my team about a team meeting I'm hosting, what I want to prepare for them, and how I want them to be in the meeting. Can you just look through it, Kay? So I looked at this email and there were 9 paragraphs. And every single paragraph began with the word I. I this, I want that, I hope this, and I this, and I think that. And one of the things that I really want, literally every paragraph began with I. Then within each paragraph were peppered I this, I that. And I said to her, let's call her Jane. I said to her, Jane, just consider this if you are the reader. What do you think if you are reading this as one of your team? And it went very quiet for a moment. And she said, I don't really care about them in the same way that I care about what I want and what I think. And I said, yes, that's exactly what they'll think, because that's exactly what we all think. We all want to know what's in it for us. How is this going to affect me? What does this do for me? What have I got to do? What's in it for me? What's in it for you, but me first? And so when you start paragraphs with I, you are zoning people out. It's something really to remember, and we're going to go into that in a second. But I just wanted to share with you that that is an absolutely critical part of emailing to get a response, thinking about the other person. So quickly, how would you describe your style? Some people are really gushing. When I did this on a live broadcast, 45% of the women on the webinar said that their style was gushing. Lots of detail, what you have to understand, and the other thing is, and all just in case, and lots of detail, a bit gushing. So is that you, for example? Or maybe you're like the dart, boom, straight, very direct, one-liners, maybe two if you're lucky. This could be you. And these styles have an impact on your response. The third style, which a lot of people adopt, particularly as can often be the case, career women who are thinking as they're writing, a kind of maze. And you get to the point, but you sort of start off and you meander, and then you're not sure, and maybe you decide what you're going to say as you're typing it. Well, people feel this. And often this can be the reason why you're not being responded to, because people can't actually work out what it is you're trying to say. It sounds ridiculous, but it absolutely is true. So 45%, I think it was, on the poll said that they had the gushing style. And then I think it was over 30% of women said that they were meandering. I hosted this call for a women's group. And that tells you something. And this is why, again, the combination of those three styles, obviously there are others, but just find yourself maybe in there and wonder, could I adapt my style, and could I, where could I be less succinct, if you like, or more succinct? So let's have a look here at the, one of the things I want to say to you is you are sending yourself. It's something that's really easy to underestimate, but you are actually sending yourself. And so there you are, you pop up on somebody's screen, just like sort of bursting through their office door. And if it's just a one-liner, or it's just very bold, or it's a great sea of text, you are actually saying something about yourself. And this is one of those things, again, it's like, what do I want this to say about me before you press send? Every message has a little bit of a seed or a plant in the person's head that you're sending it to. So remember, as I say, you're sending yourself. What impression do you want to make by the emails that you send? A little bit of background about me and why I'm here on this webinar with you, and why I feel qualified, if you will, to share what I'm going to share with you. And I'm not going to take very long with this. I believe truly that our success in our career and in our life is not a straight line. Most people will look at other people and think, oh, it's all right for you, everything you've done, it's all very straightforward for you. And they are experiencing what we all experience, and certainly what I have and am experiencing at times. The line on the right hand side, the one that's squiggly, the one that has roundabouts and dead ends and fast lanes and hard shoulders, the one that sometimes confuses you. One of my clients actually said, Kay, I feel like I'm on a roundabout and I don't know which exit to get off. Sometimes that is how you feel. And Lily Tomlin famously said, the road to success is always under construction. And I love that. It gives you permission to do things differently, to take on input on, to look at yourself and how you're doing things differently, and continually evolve. And this is what this truly is about. And I will share with you my own evolution. I worked for over 20 years, starting as a secretary, literally with a typewriter that was not far short of one of those, as a secretary in a large international insurance broking house, Willis, in the city of London. I worked there and worked my way up, and I changed from secretarial into broking, and I was an account executive, becoming a divisional director, broking global property and casualty risks all around the world. I traveled on business. I went to the Bahamas and South Africa on big industrial risks. I lived in Paris for 6 months representing the company. And one of the things I learned along the way, before I left in 2002, one of the things I learned along the way was how to connect, how to build relationships, how to ask for what I want. And I realized that I had this kind of affinity to be able to be very direct and committing. Litigious contracts were written and I would put together slips and contracts, but I was able to do it in a way that was also compelling, friendly, persuasive, if you will. And broking in writing is very different from broking, face to face, where you've got all this sort of interaction. And this was where I realized that actually some of the things that I was doing so naturally were real skills. And I was invited to create blueprints for our department and take them around the different parts of the organization to show them how to put together submissions, why certain things worked and why certain things didn't, because I was naturally doing them. And this is the thing about understanding where some of your special secret sauce is to pay attention to what it is people are coming to you for. So along the way, I have invested in myself. I paid for French lessons, and I took a time to go on holiday to the south of France. And I said to my boss, will you pay for a course if I take holiday to go to the south of France? Because I really want to go and live in Paris, and I want to go and work out in Paris for us. And my French was schoolgirl French. Well, I ended up working in Paris for 6 months. I made lots of faux pas, they call them. But I absolutely learned that the power of taking leaps of faith, saying yes to things before you're ready, investing in yourself, and also asking for support along the way were crucial. So I have then transitioned from working in an insurance broking house, knowing that about 2002, I needed to do something different. And it took me 2 or 3 years of working part-time, doing some voluntary work, working part-time for the British Heart Foundation, to find my way into coaching and mentoring. And I have done all sorts of courses and studies, and a master practitioner and a trainer of neurolinguistic programming, to be able to come to you today as someone who coaches and mentors essentially corporate career women to help them become more promotable, to keep them in the business versus often leaning back or giving up, and to show women how and where to find the value in what they do, and then how to leverage it. And working either with companies to support their pipeline and business continuity, or working with clients, women individually. That is how I have built a multiple 6-figure business in, well, probably, 7 or 8 years. So this is what I know. My passion is, I literally partner with companies to develop and invest in their pipeline of women, because reducing attrition, it costs a lot of money to lose women, and reputational risk is not good, because companies are looking for where their women are promotable and obviously able to demonstrate that you can do everything. You can have a life at home and you can still work. We support you with that. This is really what companies are looking to do. And one of my big things is, whenever I work with anyone in groups or one-to-one, it's about not having to sell your soul. It's about still having a life. It's about still being you, authentically you, which is what is going to come out in today. These are an example of some organizations that I've worked within, where I've supported women in these organizations to stay a lot of the time. Companies have brought me in to speak, to run events, to work closely in small group mentorships. And some of the women in these companies as well have worked with me privately, because they have invested in themselves, thinking, you know what, I don't quite know what I want to do, but I know that I need to do something differently. So very just briefly, I do believe that you have a more portable and intuitive future leader who has looked more closely at what they are doing, how they're doing it. And I also know that the combination, and business knows this with all this emphasis on diversity and inclusion, that the balance between masculine and feminine energy is critical. If it's too masculine, and let's be honest, insurance broking certainly was, and it still is fairly, then you lose a lot of the empathy and the community and the connection feel that women bring. And if it's too much like that, then you don't have the sort of business sense in the same way that the masculine energy brings. So I'm also looking and always encouraging both women to find their, if you like, more masculine side, and for men who work with women to really understand and encourage the feminine energy. And there's so many results and studies about this, but I just wanted to share with you, I didn't make up any of what I'm going to share with you today. I have systems for writing emails, systems for PowerPoint presentations, for presenting live, for asking for something in the office, for running appraisals. So I have systemized a lot of things, and a lot of that has come from understanding how I have done things in the past, how clients have done things in the past, to be able to come to you today. So I've shared that with you already, but I wanted to just give you a whistle-stop tour of why I'm here with you today. I've written 2 books. It's Always Your Move, Purposeful Progress for Corporate Career Women, both available on Amazon, and The A to Z of Being Understood. And I was so honored that Dame Inga Beale, who was the first female CEO of Lloyd's of London, she gave me a testimonial for my book. And I will say to you again, she wouldn't have come to me and knocked on the door and said, can I give you a testimonial? I had to ask. And this is the thing about how do you ask? How do you come out and ask? And if you don't ask, you're never going to know. So that's just a quick flash of an event I host, and the idea of being able to bring the feminine energy with really hardcore, if you will, business acumen and strategy. Let's dive into 7 proven steps to get your emails open, read, and responded to. A handy mnemonic for you, a way to remember, and I've spelt out the word respond, R-E-S-P-O-N-D. And the idea again here is for you to be able to quickly and comfortably remember what each of those steps are. So let's go through them so that you can decide, I think I might use that, or actually, you know what, I'm already doing that, or maybe I don't agree with that. But this is the thing about being a little enlightened, if you will, having different ideas. I'm always reassessing, reapproaching, reiterating things that I'm doing, because I don't want to be the finished article. So this is why I want to share this with you, to see what and how this can support you. The first are a riveting title. Now, I couldn't find a word that I liked better that started with R. So what I mean by riveting is it grabs you by the eyeballs. It's kind of compelling. It's got to be something that isn't just ABC Project. Now, it might be about ABC Project, but why not put something else at the front or as part of ABC Project so that the person is more compelled and interested in opening it? Now, here are a few examples. ABC Project Update could be ABC Quick Heads Up. Saw this and thought of you. ABC Meeting. You could turn that into lessons and developments. Everyone wants to know the lessons or the developments. What does that mean? What's happened? A quick thought for you, name. So a quick thought for you, Jane. If someone writes an email to me and that says, quick thought for you, Kay, or quick idea for you, Kay, I'm always going to open that before a sea of ABC Update, Project ABC, business continuity versus, so business continuity, which is obviously a buzz phrase at the moment. There could be a new idea, just saw this, business continuity, or business continuity, something different, just heard. So try and think to yourself, how can I be more compelling? What would make me open something? And so how can I then inject it into my own emails? Brief and brilliant idea. I will always open an email that says, a quick thought for you, Kay. And someone recently did something and put it on Facebook. And I emailed her, she's one of my colleagues, and I entitled the email, instead of, project working from home, I titled the email Brilliant. And I just, within minutes, she was back to me, because I just said, brilliant, let me know how I can help, such a great idea, thank you, blah, blah, blah. And obviously kept it short, but the title was brilliant. So that's the first thing, riveting, a compelling title. Easy opener. I don't know how many of you with the dartboard could just go straight in and just say what it is you want to say. I would always recommend, and I really mean this, not a great big, hello, how are you today? The sun's shining, isn't it nice outside? I don't know how you're getting on. I wouldn't recommend that for every email, but I do recommend adding your name, or the person's name rather. Because do you open somebody's office door and just say, blah, blah, blah? You very rarely do. You would normally say, hey, John, got a moment? Or hey, John, thought of this? Or hey, John, can I have 2 minutes with you? So my easy opener is normally, hey there, or how are you, or very brief. Hi, John, morning, everyone. Quick note for you, John. I've told you about the 9 eyes I saw in an email. I would never start an email, just, I want to do this, or I've thought of that, or I hope this is okay with you, blah, blah. I would start it off with, you may have heard of this, or you. I would always make it about you versus I. And I would encourage you to just put, hi, John, or hi, hey, John, or whatever your version of that is, versus just bald. And you separate yourself. This is the thing, you separate yourself. Space and layout is a good one. Now, what I mean by that is how you, if you think about opening an email and you see this sea of words, and lots and lots of paragraphs. And as you're looking at it, you're thinking, oh, I don't know where to start. What are they trying to say? It's just, you can have, even if you don't have a real one, you can have an internal eye roll about it. So my suggestion is to think about the space and layout. And what I mean by that is using bullets, boldening things, keeping your paragraphs really short, being conscious of how the other person is going to receive it. And let's be honest, we all scan, we all look forward through an email and we scan what we're looking at and what pops out at us. So make it easy. So I would use bullets. So I would say, so for the following points, and I know that this, you'll do this yourself, or I'd number things so you can refer to point 1 above. And then I would bolden certain words within the paragraph, or maybe the first few words. Underlining I don't use so much because it's a little bit sort of school-worthy, but boldening really captures the eye, and that's the point again, to be able to capture people's attention. Short paragraphs, 2 sentences, probably 3 at the most, then you need to take a breath, which is what a paragraph is. And so again, looking at how big are my paragraphs and would I want to receive that? Am I getting across what I need to say? So this helps your reader. This is all the point. This helps your reader. So P for point. What is it? Now let me just take a sip of water. What's your point? It's so easy. If you're one of the maze kind of emailers where you kind of think, well, I'll get there in the end, I know I need to say something, go out and I'll start. You can lose so much attention, and you might say to yourself whilst watching this, oh, okay, it's easy for you to say, you know, I've got so much going on and I don't have time to think about all these things. My question to you would be, how much time do you have to chase people up? How much time does it take to wait? How often are you either circling back to explain again or chase up? This is the thing where the time is. So the investment up the front can save you tons of time throughout the process of what you're trying to do. So asking yourself, what's the point of this email? And here's a couple of things. Why am I sending this? What's the point? What do they need to know versus what is it I must say or I feel I must say? In one sentence, what's this about? And I really encourage you, if this is speaking to you in any way, stop the recording, take a picture of the slide, think to yourself, okay, I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to come back to that. Because this is the point of giving new information and learning something and then putting it into practice. Sometimes we let information wash over us and think, yes, that's really interesting. But I personally have a notebook, and I have it here, my golden notebook. And I capture all sorts of bits of information that go by that I think, oh, I like that, or oh, I must remember that, because I can't retain everything, and nor can you. So I do encourage you, just with this mnemonic respond, to just fill it out. And then you can go back and look at the recording for the detail, but you will find it much easier to start implementing this. So the P is for point. What is the point? Why am I sending this? What's the point? What do they need to know versus what is it I must say? That's such a subtle thing and really, really powerful. The difference between, I must tell them that there are all these, you know, there's all these things outstanding and that it's really dangerous if we don't do this and we might come across the PRA, or, you know, whatever your version of why you need to say something. And if you flip it and say, this is so crucial because to enable us, or for us to avoid, or for you to be able to secure, or for you to be able to show up in the, you know, with the best information at the pitch you're going to, that's different. Suddenly you're like, whoa, that person who's reading it thinking, oh gosh, they're thinking about me. This is really important. This is important for me. So another way of finding the point is to say to yourself, what's this about in one sentence? Clearly you're not going to write that one sentence. Maybe you write 2, but the point is, what's this email about in one sentence? And then that helps you build it out. Now, this is really important. If you look at the O in respond, is it one email or is it a separate email? What do I mean by that? I mean that we can pack so much information into one email that actually, if we thought about it, we could separate. Now, you also might say, well, okay, but I'm going to send more than one email. Won't I be cluttering up somebody's inbox? Yes, and I would say to that, actually, it's coming from service. Because if you look at, sometimes you need to ask somebody something, and then there's something else, and they need to forward it, or they need to ask someone else. They can forward part of the email. They can forward one part. They can come back to you on another. That's a quick question. And then you can also acknowledge that something else will take a little longer. If you put it all in one email, they kind of look at it and think, oh gosh, there's so many actions, or there's so many things I've got to, she wants or he wants. I will sit on this. And that's the point again. It's like, well, what if I separated it, sent it out and gave a little bit of information about each thing separately, titled it well, and then they can either send the emails in different directions, come back to me in different time frames, but they've got the information all in one email or another. So this is something to consider. Different subjects or points. Is it easier to respond to you if it's in a separate email? And it's going to be easier for me to read. It's invariably not such a big ask, if you like, if it's in a number of emails. I'm not suggesting 10, but if it is 10, then again, the first email is going to be, John, this is a series of emails. Hold your breath. I need to send you some things that are going to support you with the way we're going to do business going forward. I'm separating them so that they're easy for you to find, and you'll be wanting input or feedback. So I'm separating them. So I would, if I am going to send 10 emails, which is unusual, I would position what's going to happen in the first one so that John isn't quite so surprised. So let's look at the N. And the N is so important. I'll tell you why it's so important, because it's like, well, what do you want me to do? And I can promise you, you will have read a number of emails where you're a bit confused about what the person actually wants from you. You probably have sent emails where it's like, well, I didn't put a deadline in, I didn't really say why I needed it. And I will sometimes I will send an email to get an agreement to do something, and I won't put everything in that one email. Once I've got the agreement, you know, would you be prepared to support me with a survey, or would you be prepared to support me with a quick interview about blah blah blah? Yes, I will. I won't put in that email on the X of, you know, December at this time, blah, blah, because that invites a potential no or a kind of conflict, or I have to check my diary. The first question is, will you do this? And then a bit of explanation. And if so, could you let me know by Friday, as I'm obviously working out my schedule? So that's the now what. Then I will go back with the thank you and the more detail. And then, is it useful to hop on a call? Let's follow this up. But, you know, now what is very much, okay, so the first yes, and then what's the next thing we need to do? But the point of this is really to think to yourself, have I told them what I want them to do? Have I made it very clear? And I would summarize that at the end. Or I would make it, if it's a short email, then just make sure it's very clear what you actually want to have happen. What action or response do you want? And again, summarizing it at the end. The D, display information. Now, I don't mean, of course, that after every email internally that you put all your credentials and your MBA and your whatever else it is. What I am suggesting, though, is particularly at this time of working from home, and particularly at this time of things happening very quickly and not being able to reach across and talk to somebody, make it easy to get in touch with you. If it's an internal email, just put your direct dial number, your mobile number, whatever your number is, to make it easy for the person to pick up the phone, versus they're in their home office. So you're thinking about them. They're in their home office. They've possibly got kiddies in the background and homeschooling downstairs. And do they know where your number is? Do they know exactly who you are? Make it easy. This is the thing. We're not in a, quote, normal time, and we are not going to be in a, quote, normal time for some time. So my encouragement here, and this was one of the responses that came back when I hosted this live with a group of women, was I don't do that and I must do that. It would make it easier. Someone actually even said they couldn't find my phone number, so they didn't phone me and sent me this great long email when we could have had a really nice chat. So that would be my encouragement. So display information, your direct dial, another email if it's easier after hours, a landline number if that's easier. That's very much obviously up to you and your company protocol, but I would still make it easy for the other person to get in touch with you. So that is respond, riveting and compelling title at the start, easy opener, thinking of your space and layout, thinking of how it looks as you scan it. P for the point. What's the point of this? One or a separate email? Is one email too much information in one email? So thinking about that. The N for now what? What do I want to have happen? What do I want the person to do as a result of reading this? And the D for direct, displaying information, making it easy for the person to come back to you. So behind the scenes in everything I share when I work with women and smart men, I will absolutely say that. I have 2 or 3 private male clients at the moment, but I work with women in groups and one-to-one, all around their career progress and driving their own career forward for the business's sake and for theirs. Everything I share has a behind the scenes to it. Personalizing, using people's names, remembering the power of being connected to somebody with their name. We all love hearing our name. It's a little bit like a secret dog whistle. Everyone's listening out for their name being a shout out. So using people's names peppered throughout your email, not every sentence, but just peppered throughout. Say a 4-paragraph email, I will use somebody's name maybe 3 times at the end, at the beginning, and somewhere in the middle of those paragraphs will be, and so Jane, one of the things to really remember is, or, and so Jane, to summarize, blah, 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 blah. And then I would say at the end, using her name as, again, the hook, the what's in it for them, remembering WIIFM, in everything, in absolutely everything. What's in it for my audience? What's in it for them? That's what people are thinking, so why not tell them versus what it is you want? You know, one of the worst things, what you have to understand, and the thing is, and what you don't understand, and I feel, and I get that we have those sentences in our head, but other people aren't interested in them like they are in what's in it for them. And so this is what I would always suggest, shifting the focus. Being brief and to the point to the extent you can, translating corporate gobbledygook, and I don't mean that you can't obviously use corporate expressions, of course you must. And sometimes I will say, and by that I mean, that phrase, and by that I mean, so that something that has, you know, a project that has got quite a sort of long, clunky name, or a situation that needs a little bit of explanation, but it is a corporate financial term, for example, I would use by that I mean, and then summarize it in day-to-day layman's language. And making it easy to respond to you. Every situation in presentations, I'm always offering, saying to the audience, you know, what questions do you have? Turn to the person next to you, have a chat, making it easy for people to respond to you. And also, as I said, what do they need to hear versus what is it you want to say or feel that you have to say? This is critical because it makes such a difference to how quickly you get a response and the warmth, if you like, and the level of the response that you receive. Now, I would like to invite anyone who's listening to this and who feels that you'd like to stay connected to me in any way. I have offered this before, and I have had thousands of women say yes. My book became a bestseller on Amazon when I released it in 2018, and it contains the 8 principles of your career success cycle. It never ends. That's why it's a figure of 8. Principle 5 is shine in interviews and appraisals. Now, I don't mean interviews that you're going outside for. I mean interviews internally. When you're having a promotion, when you're looking at a step up or a bigger team. One of my clients has recently, as a result of some of the work we did, moved from running a team of 6 to 60. She went through a big process of interviews, internal one-to-ones, internal Skype meetings to discuss this promotion. And she used a number of the strategies that are in this principle. So if you'd like to take a copy of that, you can go to kwhite.com/always-your-move, and you will receive shine in interviews and appraisals. And again, I won't even go there as far as how important it is to prepare for your one-to-ones. It's your opportunity to shine, and it's your opportunity to discuss what it is that's going on for you and what it is you want and what ideas you have for the business. So in that chapter, there will be lots of guides of how to dig about in what's happened recently to enable you to shine in interviews and appraisals. If you have any questions as a result of watching this webinar, please do drop me an email, support@kwhite.com. My trusty assistant Helen and I are the only people who have access to that email, and I will be always welcoming any questions or comments you have as a result of watching this. And also, if you believe I can support you inside your organization, physically or online, clearly physically when we're allowed to, but online, I'm used to hosting events. One of the Power Pack webinars is about hosting virtual meetings and events. And I'm about to host a 2-day live virtual retreat with a group of close clients. And I have learned a thing or two about how to do that and how to make it engaging and more exciting, if you will. So I would always be thrilled to hear from you. That's support@kwhite.com. I want to share with you that one of the bonuses of our time in lockdown is that my husband and I have got to hang out with our 3 rescue hounds much more. And you can see us in our garden there. Those 3 lurchers came from different rescue centres. I've always loved lurchers. They've got long legs and big noses and they're fast, which is what my husband says kind of is a reflection of me. And there is always a silver lining, isn't there, in these clouds. And at the moment, when it's been so confusing and things have happened so fast, you do have to look at what the silver linings are in the situation. So to finish this webinar and to wish you well and to encourage you to use the principles and the ideas that you've heard to make it easier for you to get a response, I want to finish with a quote from Charles Darwin. It's not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the ones most responsive to change. Change is everywhere around us, and this is the time to be more responsive to change. Thank you and bye for now.